Hi guys, this is Tina. Welcome back to my channel. So I'm here for a couple of quick videos on a few sort of craft fair ideas, you know, for kind of like taking to like Christmas craft fairs and things. Or alternatively, they could be used as, you know, like the little gifts that you give to teachers and things like that. So there's just going to be a couple of episodes. Obviously, I haven't got tons of ideas or anything. So for this one here, I thought we'd just have a look at some kind of little flower brooches and flower pins that you could make, and then some nice little presentation ideas that, again, you could then use those presentation ideas for other, you know, styles of gifts and things like that. So basically, if we just make a couple of flowers, I'll move these to one side. I've got my ready cut felt. As you can see, I'm rather in need of some more. So I'll have to cut myself some extra rounds, really. Now, in this box, they used to be in a tub, but since I'm trying to get on top of my craft mess, I've rearranged a couple of things, so they're now in this big tub. I've got lots of those, you know, the petals that you do with the candle, so I'm sure that most of you have probably seen that technique. So I've got them in a whole bunch of different colours, so I'm just going to grab a few out in just sort of neutrally type colours. I mean, that one you can probably see I've actually used and kind of obviously, or you know, not used, but glued it in, and then obviously I must have decided not to use it. So I'll just grab out a few in some neutral colours that will hopefully, you know, tone quite well and look quite pretty together. Obviously I've got them in a whole different array of sizes, you can see. So I've got the tiny weeny ones that I need for the centres of the flowers, and then I've got like bigger ones for obviously around the edges. So I'll just pull out a few. I mean, obviously this is, you know, nothing new. You may have even seen me make these flowers before, in which case please feel free to skip ahead. I'm sure that you don't want to sit and watch me making flowers again. You know, it's nothing new. But however, the presentation idea and kind of the craft fair, you know, style of presentation and presenting your flower pins for, you know, purposes of a craft fair or for purposes of maybe like a teacher's gift and things, then hopefully that might be, you know, just a new idea that maybe, you know, you haven't used before. Right, got a few in different shapes and sizes. I don't know obviously whether I've got, you know, enough or the right shapes and sizes, but I can always delve back in to the, you know, the tub again if I haven't got quite the right combination of things. So right, I'm going to put this down. Oh, before I'm just in here all day. Once I get in here, I quite enjoy looking through. So right, let me get out. I keep saying that and then I keep on finding another one. Right, let me close that and put it to one side. So I will probably mix these little flowers in with some lace. I didn't used to do this when I originally made these style of flowers, but actually, you know, as time's gone by, I think that they look really quite pretty when mixed with lace. So I've got this lace here, which is obviously, as you can see, a kind of pinky style. Or I've got these, which are those tattered flower petal things from the Tim Holtz die. So I'm just having a look to see which, you know, which thing is going to give me the best appearance on my flower. And then, you know, there's no rules to making the flowers. Build them up exactly just as you know, as you see fit, as you fancy at the time. So for instance, I might just go for some lace in here. Check that I've got two in the big size. Right, so what I'm going to do, and I like to use my hot glue gun really for flowers because obviously it's nice and quick and instant. So I'll try and get that approximately in the center of my initial base. Then I take my first layer of the Tim Holtz flower I'm just going to pop that on there. Oops. Sorry, I'm now knocking stuff off of my desk. Right. That's what comes of obviously working in a messy environment. So I've got that one there. And then just take my next one. And I like to fold these up because it gives them a little bit more, what's the word? Like definition, kind of a bit more, well, yeah, definition I suppose would be the word. So when you fold them, you just get it kind of a bit more poofy, which obviously for a kind of flower pin, you're going to want them a little bit more fancy really. And then just see whether I want this one. I mean, this is that one that, you know, like I say, I haven't even glued this into something previously, but that's fine. It could be used again. So, I mean, what I could do is cut out where the glue was, because once this is in the flower, nobody is going to see where it was. So the good thing is, in fact, I'm going to snip it round here. So it's now come apart completely, and then I can make that slightly smaller, like that. And then it's just the right size for kind of going into my flower. You know, because all you're doing is building it up in a gradual way, so that you've got some, like, you know, bigger petals and some smaller ones really. And obviously you're working your way in to make it kind of, you know, grow smaller in the middle. So have a look and see what other ones I've got. Now I can't actually tell in this light whether this is actually blue, in which case I probably don't really want that. I've got this pink. I don't know whether that's a little bit bright, because I was trying to keep this very delicate and really quite sort of subtle, pretty colour. So I think these are those middle size Tim Holtz flowers. I could use those. Got another one of those. Right, so what I'm going to do, I think, is go for this just across here. And again, just exactly the same in that, you know, I'm folding it over. And then again with the opposite. Like that. Oops. That was that kind of gluey centre that I'd cut out from that other flower. So, I mean, it looks really pretty already, doesn't it? It's a really nice combination of colours. Sorry, can you see this? I'm literally stuck all over my glue. Sorry, I'm just trying to get rid of it all into my carrier bag here at the side for the bin. Right, so the next one, I am going to probably have that one. Then, oops. Then I think, now this one's a kind of grey blue, but I mean it is quite pretty. Or is that adding just too much for different colour? Maybe. Maybe it is, so perhaps I should stick with the pinks really. I mean, that's a little bit brighter, but it would tone it down, obviously, if I have enough lighter colours kind of surrounding it. Actually, that one's pretty much the same size, so I don't really even need that. Right, so I'm going to pop this one in here. Like that. Now do be careful of your fingers here, because you know, that hot glue, I mean, it's pretty hot, so just be careful, because when you're pressing your flower petals in, I mean, really you shouldn't probably be pressing them in with your finger like this, but you know, I do that, I have to confess. Okay. Oh, I should have had that one underneath, so I'm going to pull this one off and just pop this whitey colour one down. So, I mean, you know, while the glue is still quite wettish, you've got a little bit of manoeuvrability to be able to kind of alter your flower a little bit. So that's it. Press that out a little bit. Put my pink one in. And then I think I'm just going to have a couple of kind of ivory ones. Need them a bit smaller, I think. So that one. And I've got a really tiny one here, so I could probably have that in there. Okay, so that looks really pretty, doesn't it? So just pop a bit of glue in there. And then we pop this one in here. And then the final bit in there for the middle one. Okay. Press that in with my glue gun, and my glue gun's got quite a pointy end. I'm having to be a bit careful with my glue gun because it's obviously going to break soon. They seem to only have a life of about I was going to say a year, but it might be longer than a year, but certainly I do go through them quite quickly. And as you can probably see, my nozzle is really pointing downwards now. Obviously when I bought it, it was completely straight, but I mean, I do have it plugged in on a daily basis, and you know, it's in pretty heavy use, so I don't think it does too bad, to be honest. Right, so that's my flower. Obviously I'm going to put a centre in it, and what you can do, you know, if you're going for that lovely vintage look, you can obviously, you know, colour your petals, ink it up a bit, make it look really gorgeous and vintagey. I mean, how pretty does that look? Just yummy and lovely, isn't it? Okay. And then find a nice centre. So just have a little look. I've got this little pot here where I've got different things that I might, you know, might be able to use for flower centres. Let's have a look. I've got this. Look, I mean, I love these, but weirdly enough that doesn't look quite right on that. Let's see what else I've got. I mean, I have got just these pearly thingies. Oops, try and get that out. Oh gosh, too much stuff. Again, I need to just have a clear out of that little jar, but obviously, I mean, by this point, you've probably seen my desk, and so you'll see just what a big task it's going to be getting everything clear properly. It's not going to be a quick thing. So, I mean, that looks really pretty, doesn't it? I mean, I have got my just big flat back pearls, which I love using. I don't know if I've ever used these when making flower pins, so I'll just see how that looks. But I don't dislike that. I mean, as you can see in these ones, I have used kind of lots of pearls, kind of just bunched up in there. So that can work quite nicely. I have to say, I personally find that quite fiddly. You could obviously finish it off with a button. You know, there's a whole sort of bunch of things that you could do. And if I just bring in, got this box of pearls, I really don't use kind of beads very often. I find them very fiddly to use. They're not really something that I get on with hugely well. But if you wanted to use them, you could just kind of, you know, cluster them into the middle like that. So perhaps I'll do that, because they do look pretty when it's going to be like a, you know, a flower pin. So I'm going to kind of try and hold those petals open so that I can actually get to the middle. And then, so if I just, you'll have to excuse my fingers, I have been doing lots of horrible inky things, and subsequently I now have very messy hands, and no amount of scrubbing has obviously cleaned them sufficiently yet. So I mean, they're a lot better than they were. My gosh, they were horrendous, but they're not great still. Okay, so that's your like pearly centres. That wasn't too painful. Sometimes I get them stuck all over me and, you know, it's not brilliant. And then all you're going to do is obviously get one of these little brooch pin things. Now, I just bought these on eBay. I've had them for a long time because I have made these things, you know, for myself and things like that to pin onto bags and stuff. And obviously I've made them to take to craft fairs and things in the past. I think I probably just searched for, I don't know whether I might have searched for brooch pin blanks or something like that. Yeah, I can't really honestly remember, but I did get them from eBay, and whatever I searched for, it was seemed at the time quite an obvious thing, and they came up, you know, they weren't hard to find. So, you know, that's that really. And then I think they're really pretty when you pop them onto a tag. So I'm just going to take maybe like some sheet music, or even take like some really pretty scrapbook paper or something. That might look really nice. Oh, maybe that one for that one actually. So actually I've got this big tag that I had attempted to make for something else that's coming up in another video. So perhaps I'll use this. And I mean, as you can see, it's quite a large tag. I've edged it with gold. I've just made it in the normal tag way. I've put some lace at the bottom, and then all I'm going to do is take my craft knife, which again I should have probably dug that out before coming on to do the video. Thankfully it wasn't too tricky to find it. And then what you're going to do is where you want to put your flower, you're going to snip in 2 little kind of lines, and you want them quite close together. I've probably now done them too far apart, to be perfectly honest, and I have done them over to one side, but that's the perils of doing a video, I think. So then you're just going to get your brooch pin. Oops, would you believe that's not gone right through that card? Who'd have thought that that card was so thick? Okay, hopefully it has now. Look, yeah, very off center. So I haven't done any of these like since last year, so a little bit out of practice obviously. You're going to poke your pin. Now this I find very fiddly, but probably other people are, you know, much less. Cat-handed was a phrase that somebody used the other day, and I thought, that's what I am, cat-handed. I don't know whether that's still really a phrase. It always sounds a bit like I'm swearing, but I mean, I don't think it's kind of a swearing term. I think it's, you know, I think it's okay. It just doesn't feel like a very nice term to use, but that's definitely what I am. That's what my mum always says. Oh, you're so cat-handed, and she's right, I am. So then, again, I am making a hideous job of this because I've actually put my little notches pretty close together. But you can then get in and twist your little thing around so that your flower is, you know, done up on there. Now, as you can see, I mean, that's really off-centre. So what I'm going to have to do, because I can't bear looking at it like that, I'm just going to trim this down here to make it a bit smaller. Wow, and unbelievably, I actually didn't make too bad a job of that. And then I think I'd actually Mod Podged that onto the back end, so it seems okay stuck on there. Got my gold paint here. So I'm just going to now go back around the edge of the tag so as it looks pretty. Okay, could have probably done with coming in a little bit more, to be honest, but never mind. And I'm going to punch my hole in the top. And then you can finish that off really pretty with some lace or some ribbon. So I'll just see what I've got here beside me. So I've got some lace, which actually is the same as there, but I think that's going to be too thick really to go across there. So, or, you know, to go through there. I have got this really pretty ribbon. I don't know whether I've got enough here left to be able to do this in a bow, so we'll see. It might be that it's not really long enough. It would be fantastic if it was, because, you know, it's great when you use things up properly, isn't it? I don't think it's going to be quite long enough. Oh, look, my ribbon has like, or my bow has got the teeniest little stems coming out in the world, hasn't it? Oh, come on. Oh, that's such a shame, isn't it? Oh, come on. Oh, that's such a shame. I mean, to be honest, it probably looks okay. I mean, it's a little bit on the weird side, but it's probably okay. And then, I mean, if you're happy with your bow, which I'm not, you know, not 100% sure that I am happy with mine because it's so puny and weird looking. I just like to add then a little tiny dab of glue to kind of hold it in place. And then that you could obviously hang like on your stall or whatever, or you could have them in like, you know, the photo boxes for people to flick through as little pins for sale. I also have given these as little gifts for teachers, and I just think they're kind of a really nice little thing. And I mean, obviously this tag I've got a bit messy on the back, but you know, you can just write on there, thank you so much, you know, been a really great teaching year. I'll just show you a couple of other kind of examples. So, I mean, for instance, this one, well, we could actually kind of do this one. So, I mean, this is obviously a flower that I have done previously. And I obviously have made this, you know, before I was into the junk journal-y, vintagey look. So if I just want to ink this one up a little bit to make it look a bit more vintagey, I'll just ink around that a little bit. And, you know, you can see here I've added like some net to the side of this and things. So you can really play around and alter your flowers quite a bit to do all different ones. I mean, I always remember I gave these once to some teachers, and the teacher, one of the teachers, she said, oh, that's perfect. I'm going to a wedding and it just happens it's, you know, perfect colour for my outfit that I'm wearing. So, yeah, she wore it to a wedding she was going to. So that was really nice, you know. It's always nice when you give things and people are actually going to kind of use them. So, yeah, I was really chuffed. So that's that. Now, obviously, you can kind of spritz that with some water or whatever to spread that ink around. I haven't got anything like that here at the moment, so I can't really show you, you know, how you would do that. But then, obviously, you could just back that onto some stiffer card. So I've got this buff coloured card here. So if I just cut this down, I might as well cut it into a tag shape, you know, right now, and then glue it down. Like that. And then just glue my tag. Isn't this the most lovely scrapbook paper? I mean, it's lovely on either side, isn't it? Because now I've turned this over, I'm like, ooh, look at the other side. It's gorgeous, isn't it? And again, I mean, it's just some that I've had for yonks, and yeah, just really, really nice. Best just check that I'm in frame. Oh, hold on. Yes, hopefully. And then I'm just going to stick that down on here. Where's my spreading card gone? Where's it gone? No idea. No idea. Right. It's in my drawer now. One of them is. So I'll just spread that around. Okay. Cut my tag out. Like that. Just trim it down at the bottom. Like that. And then obviously take your you know, your flower pin. I'll try and get this slightly better in the center and slightly narrower this time. So if I just turn that over, put it about here. No. So just press quite hard. Hopefully that's gone. No, I don't think it has. Oops, now I'm going in a different hole, I think. Okay. So I've got that. And then again, I mean, I've got some liquid pearls here. This is just on my desk from another project that I have been doing. But just to kind of pretty this up, you can obviously go round your edges of your tag, just to give it a bit of a, you know, metallic, just so as it looks something a little bit special, really. You know, so I mean, you could decorate them up with glitter, you could, you know, I mean, if it's for a Christmas craft fair, you could obviously kind of decorate them up in Christmas kind of paper and colours, and, you know, you could make all your flower pins in Christmas colours, Christmas fabrics, things like that. You know, there's quite a lot of fun that you can have with these, I think, to make them, you know, different and suit kind of all different things. And then again, you might want to just kind of finish it off maybe with a bit of fabric or some lace or something at the bottom. So I'm just having a look again, just seeing what's beside me. I mean, as it happens, I've got this fabric here, which, you know, you could kind of ruffle that up. I don't think I'll be able to do that without kind of stapling it, and obviously not everyone gets the stapling thing, you know, especially over here, because here in the UK, I think I've said before, I mean, crafting's not such a big thing here, unfortunately. I would love it if it was, but I don't think really crafting is celebrated in the same way that it is certainly in the States, and that's such a shame. I mean, mainly because obviously we don't get the huge assortment of choice in the shops and things, whereas if it was, you know, a lot more kind of popular and more people did it, I guess we would have then a lot more choice, which would be amazing. Of course, the internet has improved things dramatically, because you can now get things online where years ago you couldn't even get things online. You just, you know, you were just not able to get things. So the internet is amazing. I constantly just find myself thinking how lucky we are, you know, to have the internet these days, because it's just opened up so many things, hasn't it? You know, I say to the children all the time, I mean, they can't possibly imagine what time, you know, what times were like kind of without the internet. They just, yeah, couldn't really have imagined it at all, I'm sure. Still debating, do I have that lace or not? So let me just pin my flower on. Oh, I hope that I make a little bit of a better job of pinning this one on than I did the last one. So through the first hole, oops, through the second hole. No, I suspect I'm not going to make any better job of this. Maybe. I find this very fiddly to actually then be able to close the pin. But fiddly but doable. Obviously you do want to close the pin, because A, it's a bit dangerous if you just leave it flapping, and B, I mean, obviously that's how you're holding it onto the card. you know, when it's then closed around. Okay, right, got there eventually. So that's that one. And then I've got this ribbon here. So I'm going to, because this is quite thin, going to just double it up. To do my bow. Come on, come through. Come on, like that. And then, oh, don't tell me I've now done this too short. I'm going to end up with another weird stubby little bow. Well, it's not quite so bad. I mean, it's not great, but it's not quite as bad as the first one. Okay. Come on. These bows are sometimes so fiddly, and you can just spend ages, you know, trying to get them to look quite right. But then I'll just cut my strands off. So one, and I'm just going to cut through these like that. And I best cut that one down because that's now looking really odd, very long on its own. Cut that on. Now, do we like this lace at the bottom? Oh, I think it is quite pretty actually. I mean, I love that lace. I just couldn't decide whether or not it actually went with the flower, but actually I think it does look quite good on there. So I will just glue that down here. Come on. And just kind of glue it a bit at a bit of a curve, like that. Okay, press it down. Come on, stick down. Okay, and then trim that one down. Like that. See at the edges. So, I mean, again, just really super cute for little craft fair. I've just noticed that I've been filming the whole time with something hanging in the top of that. I'm so sorry. Really cute little craft fair items. I mean, obviously I don't measure, so my tags are all kind of different sizes and things like that. You probably would measure and probably would make a much better job of doing it than I do. This is one that I had already done. I'm just cutting the twine off because in hindsight, actually, I think it would look better with a different colour, you know, ribbon or lace or something on there. But just to kind of give you an illustration of, you know, the different sort of looks, really. So I'll just, no, that's not quite right. Now I'm not going to be able to find any white ribbon or lace. Hold on 2 moments. Oh, don't you just hate it sometimes when you have a plan but not quite 100% ready to go. Well, I've got that blue. I mean, obviously that's not really quite the right colour, but again, just to kind of give you an example, I suppose, of you know, the different types of looks. So just thread that through there. Like that. Okay. Make that a bit smaller because at the moment it's huge. And then again, just trim my little bits off. Like that. So, and I mean, again, I, you know, would now probably glue that little bow, just a little dab of glue at the sort of knot of the bow, so as it stays done up. I'm not going to do that because I might change that yet for a white when I get the chance. But you know, essentially they're just different examples of the types of different looks that you could have. I mean, you could have things like this one, which is quite, you know, fun and cutesy and maybe a bit more appealing to younger people and things. So you really can get quite a few different looks, and I just think they're really, you know, they're quite quick to make. They use up obviously the paper and things to make the tags, and you know, some of your fabric supplies and things to make the little flowers. And yeah, I mean, I just think they're really quite fun. I mean, you could always kind of just even put them onto a little present as a like gift tag, you know, things like that. I just think they're quite a fun little thing. So yeah, I just thought I would come along and share that with you. I've got a couple more ideas obviously for craft fairs and teachers' gifts, as I say. So I will be sharing those over the next few videos. Thanks very much for watching and have a nice day. Thanks, bye.